What's going on, guys? Pegasus from the Wise Guys. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you sub, make sure you hit the bell. A ban list has dropped, so let's talk about it, shall we? I don't think Blackwing Steam the Cloak is going to matter too much. Really cool, interesting combo piece that doesn't really matter anymore just because there's no more needle fiber and all that stuff. You got Gen X Ally Birdman, which I think is really cool. It makes Baron in an interesting fashion, so a lot of the level 3 decks, maybe Gold Pride can maybe play it, maybe some of these other combo decks that have kind of benefited with Birdman over the years can now benefit a little bit harder on it. Samsara Lotus is also really interesting, but not going to say that's absolutely earth-shattering. Quick Fix is going to be interesting as well, although we still don't have a master plan. Triple Quick Fix definitely is really cool. Recital Starling coming back. I didn't think that it ever needed to be hit or limited in the first place, although that deck was really annoying. It wasn't that good. Draco Face Off, obviously the special summon out or place into the scales one of the Draco or Draco Overlords, I think is really interesting. And multi-roll is unlimited, which means it's back to 3. Sky Striker is nearly almost at its full capacity, which we'll see in a second with the addition of Engage coming back to 2. I don't know if you're going to play 3. That's why I think they unlimited it, because you don't need to worry about playing it like that at 3 because the ratio is a little bit wonky. Sprite Starter is really interesting. I feel like it should have gone to 1, but it being at 2, it just means that you're going to be able to activate a starter, get a jet, and then have another starter on your opponent's turn, so I don't really know what that did. Runic Fountain definitely has always been played at like 2 by me anyway in most decks, so I don't feel like that was that meaningful. I definitely feel like Lightning Storm was a little bit weird as well. However, with Cash Tier or Unicorn, being able to grab either one of the spells, most of the time Birth inside of other decks, I think they're trying to cut down on some of the ability to splash it into other decks and kind of make you play a pure deck. And I guess with that extra slot that you'll have, whether that be another way to search the Scareclaw stuff, maybe Primitive Planet or some other cards, I feel like that's a very strong addition as well to this part of the list, or at least a subtraction. Herald of Orange Light is really interesting for the Drytron players, and I also feel like Manadium, Manadome, whichever one you prefer, I definitely think that it has its place in multiple decks, and Drytron obviously is the one that comes to mind when you first see it. Forbidden has been Cyberstein, Samurai, Scarecrow, the crazy 1-card combos that we didn't want to deal with all format long, and they didn't want to leave it as a power vacuum with getting Mind Hacker hit. So I feel like it's an appropriate hit. Mind Hacker is also appropriate. People were calling for other hits, and while you got one with Unicorn slightly, Diablosis number 89 definitely needed to get hit, because people were like not even playing the game because they were tired of dealing with it. Although the deck doesn't have, Cash Tier doesn't have negates, this way of kind of taking your opponent's legs out is just way too good. And as soon as we had a deck that was pretty much built for it, we saw what it did. So it went from a prize card to completely banned, which I don't know if that's the first time it's happened, but it's definitely significant, to say the least. The Pointer of the Red Lotus and Branded Expulsion, they both make sense. You don't want a card like Confiscation still floating around in the game. And with it, if it would have ever been at 3 when this deck came out, when Cash Tier came out, it would have been the most tier 0 thing probably ever printed. However, it being at 1, it didn't quite get to live up to that, and now they've just outright hit it. So I definitely feel like that's fair as well. And Brand Expulsion needed to go, and you can just do the same thing with the monster. However, there's more ways to stop monster effects, so that's really cool. And then Cyberstein, it just was so degenerate, you might as well just deal with it. Anyways, guys, rounding out the list, limited Blaster, Dragon Ruler of Infernos. I will be slipping it in Infernoids, deck profile coming soon. Mathematics Circular, very fair hit, because that deck is just so irritating to deal with. Nobody ever really wants to deal with it. It's a very annoying deck, and having 3 circular all the time, now they have to kind of work through a little wormhole, and if you can kind of take them from being able to search out the circular, then maybe they don't have the same kind of inboards, which I feel like is fair. Psyframe Gear Gamma. Psyframe definitely takes a hit. All those decks that definitely tried to slap down Gamma as soon as you tried to stop something while they had an empty field, that's going to take a hit. I feel like Orange Light is probably the exchange there. Danglong coming off the list, coming back to one. I feel like Dino is getting a boost, as well as many of these synchro decks, and I feel like there's a way in Sword Soul, for instance, maybe the Earth one and either the blue one, or just manipulate around with it, special summon in some play. You can get to a Danglong. I don't know if it's going to be that worth it, but having the 9 branchers, 9 pillars, whatever the hell the card's name is really, really interesting as well. Arise Heart, I don't feel like it's going to matter quite as much as people think. It's definitely going to matter. Don't get it twisted. But I definitely feel like Cash Tier Arise Heart, with the ability to have multiple preps, maybe multiple ogres, to keep pulling this card back on the field, and then always playing either Dimensional Fissure or Dimensional Shifter. I don't feel like it's going to affect the deck that much. You just have to adjust and think outside the box. Purely Delicious Memory, I feel like you definitely will have a tech of possibly playing Foolish Burial Goods. And last but not least, Naturia's Sacred Tree needed to get limited because that was just absolutely ignorant. Let me know what you think about the list down in the comments, and we got plenty more videos to come. It's a new format. Let's get into it. I'm out. Arrivederci.